Greetings, Vault citizens. Johnny5 Alive, your Vault Overseer here, and welcome to another episode of Vault-Tec Settlements Let's Build. And I'm super excited about today's video. We're going to be starting our Armory. So stay tuned and let's check it out. Alright guys, diving right on into it. Very excited about this build. I remember talking about this in the last episode, ending off our weapon shop, that I was a little bit nervous going into the Armory. Because our weapon shop ended up turning out to be so much more than I thought it would be, that I was really thinking it was going to be hard to challenge myself to kind of up the pace a little bit. And you will see some struggles in this episode, some experimentation, and some changing. I did, rather than recording my big mistakes or my big changes, I clipped it out in this episode. So you'll see me build up something in this episode and then like randomly just move it all. And it'll just, with that moving it all process is cut out because I didn't basically I was building the same thing twice but in a different location. So I decided, okay, this isn't working. We're gonna turn off the recording, move it, and then start recording again. And it's all an experimentation process. We're trying to figure out what this thing is going to be, our layout. I talked about immersion in previous episodes, like we wanted to have a road coming back here or a pathway that they, if they had a crane, they do have a crane and they have forklifts and they have a mechanic that fixes everything to basically hoist all these crazy things onto these buildings. And we have all this steel, like normally putting a water tower in a house would just crush it, or a giant generator or whatever we did. But we reinforced the house with like concrete. We put concrete supports in. We built a frame around the house and then a roof on top of the house, and then we put stuff on top of that. So for the most part, everything that we're putting on top of the house wouldn't be crushing it because we've reinforced it. But going back to that storytelling, we wanted some sort of a path. What I ended up trying before this, what you see now, I just threw the recording out. I tried building an actual road that took you between these two houses all the way back to the big warehouse that we got back there. It just looked so man-made and so terrible. I was like, you know what? They just drive over the dirt. I'm fine with that. It's a little bit of a rough ride, but that is fine. So yeah, it's just certain things that I was experimenting with because we want to get that storytelling, we want to get the immersion, and we also kind of want to hit a new silhouette with this. Talked a lot about composition, silhouettes, and things of that nature in the previous episode with the weapon shop, and I am nervous about this Armory, and this episode's going to be about 20-25 minutes of us figuring it out. And then in the next one, we will do it'll probably be like a 15-minute episode. I think I got an hour and a half's worth of recording, 6 times speed. I think that'll be 15 minutes. So we do a lot in the next episode in a very, very short amount of time. But I do want to kind of derail the conversation for a bit. The reason I ended up cutting that next episode short is because I had a freaking Fallout heart attack. I went to do the wait thing, and then my game was freezing when I was waiting. And then I tried waiting in other occasions, and my game was crashing. So here I go. I grabbed the loot sorter thing, the Fallout loot load order sorter, whatever it's called. Tried using that. I tried making like a vanilla profile, testing it with that, and then I started uninstalling mods one at a time, trying to figure it out. I was like, this is not how I want to be spending my Friday night. This is absolutely chaos. And testing, I can't seem to figure out what the issue is. So what I end up doing is I go to a different save, and then I try that out, and that doesn't seem to be fixing it, and it just seems like my game was bloated and corrupt or something bad had happened. So I decide to just keep testing and go into like a zone. I decided, well, maybe if I go wait inside of a building, because actually everything that I've done on this save so far has been exterior, other than having to do the quest where we go get Preston Garvey as a companion. And so I find out after waiting inside of a building and killing some enemies and coming back out, it seems to be fine now. I don't know what happened. The exterior world was just bloated or something. But the waiting is still like very laggy, and sometimes it kind of stops responding for a second. I can see my task manager say not responding. It was only like a blip. Load times seem to be pretty bad. I don't know what's going on with the game itself. Probably just too many mods and it's having a hard time computing. So now I'm living with that paranoia, that fear of, is my game going to freeze? Is my game going to crash? What's going to happen? But we seem to be back in order at this time. So that's where I'm at the end of the next episode. I freaking spent like 4 hours on my Friday night just trying to fix Fallout or test Fallout and figure out what was wrong with it, and ended up not really having a solution. It kind of fixed itself. So I was like, I kind of need to just wrap up whatever I was building and call it a day. So that's why the next one's going to be a little bit shorter. But we did make leaps and bounds in that short amount of time. And so I threw in some nighttime lighting and called it a day. So what's cool about that, this process is this episode is all about trying to figure out that composition, that shape. Lots of experimentation. And, you know, after we get to where we are by the end of the episode, where you'll see how I'm at, you know, I kind of have to reassess things and go into it. And I just fired it back up, went into it with a game plan. That was after, you know, sleeping on it. Sometimes it's good to walk away from it, sleep on it. So when I woke up today, I decided to start tackling it again. And not even 2 hours in, I completely give it a facelift, an overhaul. It looks night and day different. It's quite cool to see the progress here. So I'm pretty happy about the way the armor shop has started to turn out. And in this episode, by the end of this episode, I was feeling fatigued. I was feeling disappointed, discouraged, and unsure of myself. And I knew that going into this build. I knew that it was going to be difficult to top what we did at the weapon shop. And one of the challenges here is there is, I think, 20 plus power armors in the game that you can collect. So whoever decides to put this in their game with settlement transfers, or even if I just upload the save, whoever plays with this in their game, you know, they're going to want a place to store all their power armors. And even if I'm playing the game, I'm going to want a place to store all my power armors. So those glass containers that you see there is a part of the Easy Home Builder mod. And I thought that was like the best display case for power armor. There are some that come with the game, but this one to me is the best one. I really like the way it looks, and it's also actually a workstation. So you can actually edit the power armor right there in the glass case. So it's even better. It's a display case, and it's a power armor crafting table. So it was a 2-for-1, and the best looking one. So I was like, win. All right, so we're going to need two rows of 10. 10 on the bottom, 10 on the top. So here I am basically trying to fit something in. And I thought, you know, it would be cool. Yeah, the fantasy here was when you roll up to the armor station, you see just rows of power armor, and this big, you know, armory is screaming power. It's power armor. It's an armory. It's covered in metal. It's reinforced. It's supposed to be even more superior to our weapon shop. Our weapon shop was supposed to be kind of like the hodgepodgey Borderlands merchant, the weapons, the arms dealer. They're more resourceful, less need for power, but you know, and more chillaxed, I guess. You know, but they have like a lot of wares and they have a lot of stuff, so they gotta store it all. And we ended up coming up with a pretty cool, unique look. For this, I really want reinforced armor. I want, you know, lots of metal. it's going to be a lot harder for whoever made this. It would have been way more of a challenge to construct this base than it was to do the weapon shop. So I think here we're looking at it here, all those rows of power armor. I'm unsure of it, the way it looks. I'm backing up, I'm looking at it, and I'm going, oh, I don't know about this. It's just too much of a facade. It's just one big wall. It's really going to impede on our silhouette. So now you see it's all gone. Where'd it all go? I moved it all to the back in between recordings. So yeah, it was just too much of an eyesore, and I don't know how I was gonna build around it or work into it. And I thought, I could have done it on the ground level, but then I thought, okay, having 3 out front on the ground level would be good. So I'm trying to incorporate something where we can at least get 3, because that was the fantasy, was rolling up to the armor shop. We want to see some power armor. We want to know that this is a power armor shop, as well as other armor. So we moved it all to the back, but kept a few in the front for display purposes. So we got 20 in the back, 3 out front, giving us 23. That should be plenty for your power armor collection dreams. And they have a nice little piece that goes in between them to link them all together, which I really liked. So yeah, it works pretty cool. So what was I talking about before? The overall build for this, we want this imposing, strong, armored building. And looking through the pieces and what we have available, what we were going for, we're a little bit more lenient with the weapon shop. And with the colors, they just so happened by chance to be a lot of red popping colors. We also allowed ourselves to incorporate some yellow. And the big pieces that I ended up pulling and kind of prepping for the weapon shop really gave it a lot of charisma, character, color, and it made it stand out as something very unique. Whereas the stuff that I was looking through for this place, we're going to have to do a lot of it from scratch. So you're seeing me look through the weapon stuff, or the metal menus for green panels, and then I'm putting like the corrugated metal over top, or like the graded metal over top of the green panels to kind of give it a double layer look. So there's green metal with panels over top, and it's kind of 2 on top of each other, and they don't clip. It's pretty cool. It's a nice little layering. We want metal stairs, we want some metal lining, and there's big metal barriers for guards, sandbags. There's all sorts of different things that are there, but they're kind of like individual small building pieces rather than big shapely contours like water towers or some of those big canopies that we put in, and all those different things that we use for the weapon shop. We kind of got away with kind of an easy task. It worked. It just worked, and it did a lot of the work for us. But we went in there and we detailed and fine-tuned it further and made it even better. But getting that base composition down is key. We want shape, we want directional forces, and we don't want it just to look like a house that's been decorated. You know what I mean? Just like a flat house. You could still see the roof, you could still see all the paint on the house, and it just has like armor signs on it. Because at the end of the day, it still is just a house that's decorated, but we've junkified them. And here, I had some tin cans that I put down on the house, but I guess when I opened the gate, it broke them, so I'm just fixing that over there on the weapon shop really quickly. I do end up putting them back because I do like it, but I've put them back further so it's not bugged out. Just kind of gives you a little jingle when you come in, kind of a nice little way to give it some character when someone enters the shop, like the bell ringing or something for modern shops. So we're trying to, we have to build our base for the armory. So I'm using some of the wood here. I wanted to try and avoid wood, but there was no green painted metal. I mean, there was a little bit, but I was having issues like flipping it, and it was very plain looking. So the wood has a little bit more texture to it, and because it's on the inside and not really the outside, I figured, okay, the wood here will be okay. There's some small spots where I make exceptions for wood, just because, it's what we have available. So the green painted wood layered on the inside. I'm trying these green paneled rooftops, but at the end of the day, you won't see the green paneled rooftops, or you won't really be up there much, or looking at it from a bird's eye view. And because it's a roof piece, it actually was giving me issues. There is a slight difference between roof and floor pieces in this game. The roof pokes up slightly higher and it has a harder time having objects snap to it because it doesn't recognize it as a floor. So we quickly get rid of that, replace it for concrete. I'm good with concrete. We don't want everything metal, but a mixture between metal and concrete. And then I remembered about my scaling feature. So, and you all of a sudden you see this big thing on top of the building. I cut out of the episode and I was looking through some of the big pieces because I was like, what am I going to do for these silhouettes? So the windmill appeared there and the big tower. And I said, okay, that's something for me to work with, and we'll see where we can go from here, and just keep massaging it further. But I was really, really struggling going through all the different mods that I have, trying to find something big that's going to be imposing. I like these statues. They have that green color to them. They look like, I guess, mannequins, body armor mannequins. So they work really well here, and there's also a big head. I was trying to find a spot for that. And those planets are from, I think, the Nuka-Cola world. Now, while they are Nuka-Cola, they are green, and it's one of the only things that I could find that were green that popped. And I can scale them up, so I was like, okay, scale these up, we get a little bit of green, and it kind of led me to start thinking of the idea, we're going to call this Planet Armor. Or Armor Planet Armor. And I guess it's kind of a cool name or theme, and I think it works. So we're going with Planet Armor for this place. We're trying to get in that silhouette, those big shapes. We're trying to find pieces to use these heads and these little armor things, and we're trying to spruce up our building a bit. And this is why this episode for me, and even just going into the armory in and of itself, it was a daunting thought. But there's no way to get through something other than just starting, guys. So you just gotta start, hit record, or if you're just playing the game and you're like, I have an idea, but I don't know, you just gotta start. And you're going to try things like, I'm trying to get this windmill in there, trying to find things to create shapes, and a lot of it's just not working. I'm going up and down, looking at it, back and forth, trying to scale things, move things around, and I'm just like, how do I create these nice looking shapes in this big composition? We're starting to get something, but it's just not even enough. Like the windmill on the right, it just sticks out way too much. And here I am trying to scale it down a little bit. Yeah, I keep forgetting about the scale tool, so now I'm like, oh yeah, I can scale that, snap it, put it all together, and push it into size. So we're gonna get that smaller. We want it to have a cascading effect. So we have that big giant, that big tin or stainless steel thing there is actually like a nuclear reactor. And what I found out is later on is you could actually turn it on. There's a big glowing sphere in there. I'm gonna have to put like a big heavy duty door on there. It kind of works here because you're gonna need a nuclear reactor to power and I guess if you think about all the armor racks, their power armor is being charged. So this nuclear reactor is charging our 20 plus power armors in their stalls. So that's kind of my storytelling and my thought process behind that. We're going to need more power than the weapon shop. So I'm playing around with the signs, the armor signs. A little bit rusty. It's got rust on it. It's kind of orange. It's black. It's kind of faded. It doesn't look too good, but I really want something that screams armor. And I had gone through the business mod, looking through all the different signs, and I think that's part of why we got so much personality in our weapon shop, is that there were just a lot of options. And in terms of just armor, we didn't have many banners, we didn't have many flags, we didn't have much of anything really. And the one armor sign or few armor signs that we did have looked really grungy and bad. So we're gonna have to make something ourselves. So I'm trying to get some skinny panels that I can lay down, so I can spell out words using the neon letters and scale them up. So I'm trying to find a position that fits them and go up there so I can build my neon lettering. And we're just going to spell the word planet. And then I was going to use the armor sign underneath it. I end up finding a nice one that says, it's a brown sign, and I thought that was perfect because planets are round. You'll see it there on the street when I look back a little bit. The A doesn't quite fit for some reason, so we do overscale it. And yeah, we'll end up putting the armor sign above this, so it'll be like, it says kind of like armor planet, I guess. That's what it's technically called if you read it top to bottom. But we're calling this place Planet Armor. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, there's two words, planet and armor, and this place is a badass armor shop. So we have to make our own with conjunction of the other one that says armor, and I think that actually ends up looking pretty darn good. And I did read one of the comments, someone was talking about the Minutemen being blue, and I'm like, why didn't I think of that? So I'm making this green here, but we did spell this Minutemen in our first or second episode. We spelt it in green, and then I was looking around, I was like, I got blue flags, I got touches of blue, it's a blue house, why didn't I go with blue? That's something I'm gonna have to do off camera and go back and fix, because now it's bugging me. So we're gonna spell the Minutemen out in blue. That'll be a fix that I do in between episodes, I suppose, and we're gonna have this as our green. So I want each place to kind of have their own distinct color and feel. I'm okay if we reuse it sometimes, but yeah, Minutemen is definitely blue, so we want those neon letters out front of that shop to be blue. In this game, technically armor shops are blue. Like if you look at the, like that one has a little touch of blue, but it's so little, and when you surround it with all these other things and colors, you barely notice the tiny touch of blue. Blue's pretty close to green, so it works here. I mean, beggars can't be choosers. We got to deal with what we get, so it'll do. But yeah, the actual merchant shops that you get in the game, they have like a nice little painted blue thing on them, and they say armor. But again, had we decided to make our armor shop blue, and we went with a blue house, we don't have anything blue, as far as I can tell, that's big that we can scale up. So it kind of worked out by luck. Originally, I put down a green house and a red house, and I said, okay, weapons and armor. And then as I was looking through the pieces, a lot of the big pieces in this game, from the mods at least, are red and green. There's not a lot of other stuff that is big other than yellow, I would say. So yeah, we don't, I guess that's your primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. Yeah, so, but there's, or sorry, derp, it's RGB. There's a lot of green stuff. There's not a lot of primary blue color in the game. That's unfortunate. So, yeah, I mean, we got to deal with it. So, if I had a theme for blue or something I was going to use blue other than the Minutemen, I really wouldn't have much other than some flags and banners. So, it's good that the Minutemen wasn't supposed to be overkill. All right, here we are at the end of the episode. This is real time, guys. Now, we're looking at this. Let's talk about it for a second. The composition is something. We got the big, giant tin on the top. We got a big planet. We got a few planets in there. It's a little bit crazy. We got some power. You can see the power armor back there. Got some big statues on the left and right. A windmill on the right. A big head on the left. Some display cases out front. Some canopies. It's coming together. It doesn't look too bad, but we have some bare spots, and it's very scattered. It looks very hand-placed and bare, and it doesn't have that cohesion or where everything's tied together. If you look at the weapon shop back there, sure, there's just a generator on a big warehouse and nothing else. Is a completely flat top roof. It still works for some reason, and we have so many elements around it, and in the foreground there's just a lot going on. And part of that, the issue that we're having here, is this house is longer than our red house. We have more real estate to cover here, and we've also extended it as well. And yeah, so we're stretching that out, and it's just not looking exactly the way I want it to. And I was kind of like, after the end of this episode, I was sitting there scratching my head, kind of like disappointed with what I made and wondering what I'm going to do to fix it. Don't you worry, guys. The next episode is going to be jam-packed, full of action, 15 minutes. We're going to give this thing a complete makeover, and it's going to look pretty darn cool. I'm excited about it. I'm super happy with the results, and I kind of feel proud of myself for accomplishing something that I was struggling with, because it just felt like something. I just, from putting the armor racks in the front at the beginning of this episode, and it was just looking horrendous, going into the episode, thinking, what am I going to do to top the weapon shop, moving everything to the backside and getting it to where it is now and still not being happy. It's like, oh boy, this thing is never going to end up looking good. But we'll have to see what you guys think of how it looks going into the next episode, and I'm really curious to know your thoughts. The build is still not done at the time of this recording. We still got a ways to go, but I think the exterior is looking about where we want it to. And then I had those issues with Fallout crashing or having issues, and it sorted itself out, so I had to take a break. So yeah, that's where we're at, guys. That's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked, please be sure to smash that like button, share these Fallout videos with your friends. Let's try and get some more views. Be sure to leave your comments down below. I really love hearing your guys' thoughts on this series. If you guys enjoy these videos, consider becoming a patron, as it helps me make these videos. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye now.